And you will be really frightened at some of the things that these men are saying. They're saying, well, why would I deal with a woman? Why would I? What can a woman do for me? Women reject me. Like, it's a lot. It is a very scary.
Well, what do they say that was actually wrong, though? I mean, you've got a comment here by a man that says 100 women versus accountability. Another guy said, yeah, you actually have to improve our lives. We're not going to chase entitled brats just to be an ATM, which that's what modern women say. You have to actually bring value to my life. And all of a sudden, when a man says the same thing, then it's a problem. I don't get that. Another person says, why is it scary when men say they don't need women, but women are celebrated for saying the same things about men? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't get it. Bro Sports Talk says she's basically saying that men are not just or just not simping anymore. That's exactly what it is. Another guy says, who wants to chase a bill? All of these are valid. They get on here and they try to make it seem as if they're about to say something that's just a crisis, a pandemic, an epidemic, as they say, the male loneliness epidemic. There's an epidemic of men doing this. It's not. You feel like it is because, for one, and really honestly and truly, with all of the education, modern women keep on falling prey to, oh, I just went through this. Well, when did that happen? When I was 10. So why are you still holding on to that? Well, my friend had that happen to her when? Well, that was when she was 30. Well, is she married now? How old is she? Well, she's 50 now and she's retired. Oh, so it's 20 years ago. It's 20 years ago. You still holding on to that? Oh, I saw it on TV. Where specifically did you see it on TV? Well, I saw it happen on 90 Day Fiance. You mean you made a reality TV show where all they do is try to create drama? They pick the most toxic men and women, and you're surprised that something toxic came out of it? Modern women, man, they don't think. That's the biggest problem. If it feels like a crisis to them, it is a crisis. And they never really truly slow down to talk to anybody with any common sense. And that person with common sense say, no, bro, there's nothing going on here. This is a non-issue. I think a lot of people say this is a non-issue to them, but they decide in their hearts when they get back home in the middle of the night while watching a Netflix show before they go to bed, no, this is a non-issue. I just had to post about it, girl. I'm sorry. I know what you said, but I just had to. Mama, I'm sorry. I know you said it wasn't a big deal, but it just, something about it. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And I know I'm crazy. Dad, I know I'm crazy, but it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. And y'all continue to get on these podcasts, ruining your chances at dating men because you have silly, stupid, warped views on what men are actually doing out here.
Yesterday I went over to hang out with the guy that I'm seeing and we were going to watch football, but I woke up yesterday and I just had a lot of anxiety. It was like a high anxiety day, but we had plans, whatever. So I go over to his house, we go on a walk, we get a treat, we go back to his house, put football on. I promptly fall asleep, wake up from my nap, and my anxiety is like an all-time high. And I'm like, I need to go home. Like I need to be gone. And it was like 5 p.m. at this point. And we hadn't really discussed it, but like, I know that we both kind of probably assumed that we were going to like hang out for the night, like eat dinner or whatever. I had only been over there for a few hours at this point and I had fallen asleep. So I wake up from my nap and I'm like, I gotta go. Like he didn't know that I was having a crash out internally, but I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go. And he was like, oh, right now? Like, do you want to watch Survivor or something? And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna go. And he was like, okay, like that's fine. Which, side note, like didn't make me feel guilty or bad or anything, which should be normal, but anyway. So he's like, okay, yeah, no worries. So I leave, get home, and I'm sitting here on my couch, feeling anxious, and then all of a sudden I'm like, why do I kind of want to go back? Why do I want to hang out with him? I like to be alone when I'm stressed. And I don't even like boys. Like, I don't like, that's so not who I am, to be having like a stressful day, anxiety for no apparent reason, and to be like, oh, I kind of want to go back. I kind of want to hang out with him. Criminal. That's criminal as far as I'm concerned. That's not who I am. So I'm sitting here being like, oh, why do I want to go back? That's crazy. So I texted him and I was like, hey, what are you doing? It had been like 2 hours at this point. I texted him and I said, what are you doing? Is it too late, or should I come back and we can watch Survivor? And it's like 7 p.m. and he says, haha, yeah, like come back. And I said, what's so funny? Why are you saying haha? And he said, because you miss me. And I said, no, I don't. Don't ever say that again. No, I don't. But I did, in fact, go back and watch Survivor.
And this is what foolishness of modern women's thinking has done. This is why men, it's a struggle. Brendan says, why are you fighting this? Allow yourself to be happy with them. Exactly. Another person says, you need to have a serious conversation with this boy. He's giving you the patience of a saint, but you're describing a roller coaster that would not be easy on anyone's emotions. If you're struggling with anxiety, tell him. If you feel as though spending time by yourself helps, tell him. If you missed him and changed your mind about being alone, tell him. Y'all remember that? Well, we need to communicate. I need a man that communicates effectively. All of the stuff that she should be saying to him, she's saying to TikTok. This is what frustrates men. All of the things that you're saying, you could be saying to him, but you're saying to TikTok. You're talking to TikTok about it, instead of giving the man a chance to understand who you are. Really, honestly, and truly, I don't know what's going on, but you need to get that fixed. But whatever it is, you need to discuss it with that man, because you're going to still be doing things and acting a certain way. And the man's going to be like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't even know. Well, just kind of let me know. And let that be the end of it. You don't even have to go into detail. You say, hey, I'm just, kind of feeling like this. Sorry I left. Right? If there's something that you're dealing with internally and you feel like it's seeping out, or if he notices it, you just gotta have a quick conversation about it. There's nothing wrong. I'm just kind of dealing with some stuff, and I'm going through some stuff. Oh, what is it? Well, it's just feeling kind of anxious about, this relationship. I'm not 100% sure, and it's not really you, but I just feel like in the past, maybe things haven't worked out for me like I've wanted. So I think that's a little bit of where the anxiousness is coming from. I really don't know, but I just wanted to make it clear from this conversation, it's not you. It's just I'm having trouble letting go. I'm so used to going, and hoping and thinking that somebody's gonna get to a certain point and they're gonna let me down, and I'm trying to avoid that. It's a very vulnerable state to be in. It's a very vulnerable emotion. So you can, before you ruin it, you can kind of maybe mention that. Another guy, Crash, says, next time just be completely honest with him and tell him that you're having a day filled with anxiety and you don't know why. I guarantee he'll understand, and also he'll be there for you in any way that you need him. That's a very good point. You have a lot of men that will say, oh, what do I need to do? Because men automatically go into emergency mode to where they're trying to fix things. So what do you need from me? Hey, you need me to go get you some food or something like that? Or you need me to take you to the hospital? What is it that you need me to do? Just let me know. You just stand there at the ready, trying to make sure that you're good. That's a natural state of a man. So just let him know so he can be prepared. So he just won't sit on his hands and, just kind of not really do anything, right? You got to let him know if you need him to do something for you.
Just on my nightly walk, and I was thinking about the one time this guy and I were in his bedroom, and he was like, you want to turn this bitch into a carnival? And I was like, a carnival? What do you mean by that? And he goes, well, you know how whenever you go to Dave & Buster's or whatever, you play that game with somebody where you're both holding the squirt guns and you're racing to see who can hit the middle target fastest, and whoever sets off the alarm wins. And I was like, okay, what's that have to do with us? He was like, you sit with your legs spread eagle and I'll aim my stream on your to see if I can get it to ring and set you off, and then I win the game. It's like we had a carnival, and if I can make you bust by doing that. I was like, oh, that's so fucking weird. Of course you can do that. I would love to try it. So of course I sat butterfly style and let a man pee on my ringer. Anyways, see ya.
Here's a comment. So it's my fault for opening the app today. Another person says, remind you this story time was optional. Another guy says, I remember when we had secrets. Another guy says, I miss when we kept some things to ourselves. Lot says, every day we stray further from God's light. Another guy says, I just opened this app. Yeah. These are the things that modern women continue to share with us. Well, honestly, I'm glad that you do, but these are the things that we don't really have to hear about, but you tell us about. And they're going to wonder why men don't treat them with respect. Well, you don't really treat yourself with respect based on what we're hearing about right now.
I just found out that a guy I'm supposed to go on a date with doesn't drink, and I was kind of like, what are we supposed to do? Like, how's the date gonna go? And part of me was like, girl, you're a hoe. And then I was like, no, I'm not a hoe. I'm an alcoholic, and that is a problem.
And once again, this is why men say, I don't want to pick up a pill, and I really don't feel like dating these modern women. A guy in the comments says, I told this girl I don't drink and I don't smoke, and she said, so you don't have a life. What? I mean, isn't there other things in life? Well, not to modern women, because you see, if you're doing something that they wouldn't do or they see as boring, then they'll shame you for it, which is essentially kind of what she's doing to some degree. It's a small degree. Modern women will say, well, he didn't take me out to this restaurant, so he must be trash. He must be broke. If he doesn't do these things, then he's broke. If he doesn't act this way, then he's broke. And really, it's just a whole bunch of stupidity. It's a whole bunch of foolishness that you have to sit around and hear about from modern women who wonder why in their late 30s and early 40s, even into their 50s, some of these women are in their 60s talking about, why am I single? I've never really truly been able to find a man. Well, I mean, it's because you think that a man who doesn't drink or smoke is boring and y'all don't have anything else to do. Man, just a one-track mind.
Like, what value do you bring to the house? And don't say to me you pay the bills, because I'm so sorry, I could go work and pay the bills.
How much are the bills?
I don't know, I don't care.
How much is the rent?
I actually don't know.
How much is gas electric?
I don't care.
How much is the petrol?
Petrol ain't got nothing to do with
How
me.
much is groceries?
Do you not hish as well?
How much
Do you not eat? What do you
How
contribute
much
in the house?
how much are the school fees for the kids?
Why are you talking about the money for? Are you okay? I'm not talking about the money, I'm talking about you as a person.
No.
So you want to pay bills and then just sit down?
No, but how much are the bills though?
I don't know.
So you said you can go work. How much are the bills? Tell me how much are the bills.
If you can pay them, I can pay them. You're really pissing me off. Stop laughing, it's not funny.
7 years.
What contribution do you bring inside the house apart from pissing me off?
And I really like the way that he did this very calmly. And of course, she didn't want to hear it. Of course, him speaking facts was of no use to her. She didn't like any of it. And sometimes this is what men have to do, because modern women will go on a tangent. They'll go on a tangent, talk about all the things that they do in the house, and they'll break it down. There was a woman that said, hey, y'all like to break down all the things that you do in the house, but let's go and start talking about what a man does. And every minute thing that he did, she started breaking it down. She had to stop, for the sake of the video, but she started breaking it down. And when we look at it from that perspective, because we always look at it from like more of a macro, like a bigger picture sort of thing. But when we break that down and look at it from a micro level, you're going to start to see that men do a whole heck of a lot. We just don't put it into words. We just don't verbalize it. We just don't sit around and pat themselves on the back. A woman later on in the video was patting herself on the back for cooking a short rib and some mashed potatoes. Like, fantastic. I read 3 books this week. Okay. Do you want to be on the honor roll? Not special.
Straight men who will date bisexual, non-binary, femme-presenting people.
But just get that. Straight men who will date non-binary, femme-presenting people. Okay, so what you're probably saying here is that it's a straight man dating a woman who identifies as non-binary, which is straight.
I've always been a bit confused by that because I'm like, if you're straight and you date women, do you see your partner as a woman?
Yeah.
So for lesbians who believe that like lesbian
She's straight. I mean, you see how they talk in circles and confuse themselves? All of them. And, you know, look at them. Look at them. Look at her. Look at them watching her. The look on her face is like, yeah, I'm really taking all this in. I'm really listening to all this. She's got a point. She's got something that she's saying right now. I mean, this is profound. I've never heard anything like this. She's not saying anything. just because you talk slow and intentional, this is what hurts a lot of modern women. Well, this is what confuses a lot of modern women, is they'll talk slow and deliberately and with a cadence, and you'll sit up there and listen. But by the time you end up listening to what they actually said, they didn't say anything. And in some situations, what they actually said was actually pretty stupid. It's actually pretty dumb.
Means women who's attracted to women. If you're dating a non-binary person, do you think that they just inherently see their partner as a woman, even though they're non-binary?
Probably.
I love how they just spend so much time trying to argue against the fallacies of their framework. They realize their framework has all these contradictions, so they need to intellectually argue themselves out of it and realize, oh, wait, so if you're just a woman with a mullet identifying as non-binary, then somehow if a man deep down dates you and knows you're a woman, then there's a problem. Whereas he's on the side of reality, bitch. He knows what's true. And
I mean, even if you think about that study where a woman, that's not even a study, she was a comedian, and she said, I'm going to dress up as a stud, I'm going to walk into the market and see if I can find a man to date me. And most of the men would date her. And you can see, well, the woman that was kind of reviewing it and kind of reacting to it, she was like, oh, look at them. You know, they really don't know what they want. They really don't know what they like. See, they like women or they like men, basically, was her point. Because she's dressed up as a stud. She's talking to them as a man would. And, you know, they're still asking for her number, and she's still giving out her number. And you could see in the clip, these men had big smiles on their faces. They were laughing because they thought it was funny. It's a bit. It's funny. It's like a little segment. It's a joke. You don't even look like somebody who's a stud. She didn't even look like that. She just looked like somebody who is dressed up as one. It's like a Halloween costume. That's all that looked like. Men are able, I know, this lets us know, even further know, to confirm that modern women continue to think that men are just stupid. They think that men couldn't possibly dissect and see what's going on. So for them to use all of these words and all of this language, they think a man can't see what a straight woman, well, she's got a mullet on. Maybe that man's into that. Have you ever thought of that? Well, if she has his haircut, listen, if she's into him and he's into her, well, she's not presenting in all those other words that it don't matter. Y'all sitting up on a podcast miserable, talking about or trying to make the case that men are actually gay. And like he's saying, it's actually just 2 straight people together. 2 straight people getting together. You're confused about what you got going on because apparently you have too much time on your hands. And apparently, instead of going out and finding a hobby, I mean, why not just take a drive? Why not just take a ride somewhere where you can, just chill out and relax? Listen to some music. Go for a swim. Do some rock climbing. Anything to get your juices flowing. Anything to get your blood flowing. Get that blood going to the brain, that oxygen going to the brain, to where maybe afterwards you have that adrenaline rush that you need, but maybe your brain is a little bit healthier and you stop getting on podcasts saying stupid stuff like this.
I just got home from a bar and I tried to give this guy my number and I got rejected. Let me give you the context. I go to this bar probably like 3 to 4 times a week. It's by my job. I know the staff at this bar. They know us. They know my friend group. I have been served by this man before, okay? And I would say for the last like few weeks, I've like noticed him. And I was like, this guy's actually kind of cute. The way that I noticed him is because I would always order the spritz. And I ordered the spritz and he made this like snide, sarcastic comment about like, so hard to make these spritz. And I was like, huh. But he was being like flirty and silly and coy. And I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And then from that point forward, we would like have these little interactions when I would go to pay. And I noticed that the last time he checked me out, when I bought a round, the round should have been like $50 and it was only like $15. And I was like, oh, he gave me a bunch of free drinks. Okay, so let's talk about tonight. I get there tonight, I see him. I go wait in line. I go, can I get a glass of the light orange? And he's like, oh, light orange? I go, yeah, somebody like shamed me for getting the spritz. And he's like, oh, and who did that? And I said, I don't know, you tell me. And he laughs. And then we talk about the spritz. I'm like, yeah, I had just gotten back from Europe. Like, whatever, we're making conversation. I order a round of drinks for me and all my friends. And the check should have been like $50. Rotates the iPad towards me and it's only like $19. Like, okay, he gave me free drinks again. So I give him a tip, I put it back, and then I go back to my table. I'm like, guys, he definitely gave me free drinks. They're like, okay, just give him your number, Jez. You've been talking about this guy, just give him your freaking number. I'm like, oh my god, okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm gonna give this guy my number. Then another guy, let's just name him Owner. Owner walks up to us. He also works at the bar and he knows us because we're always there. He goes, hey guys, what are you doing tonight? We make conversation and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna be so honest with you. Sorry, my hair is like so crazy. I'm just gonna be so honest with you. I think let's name cutie bartender Michael. I think Michael is so cute and I want to give him my number. And Owner laughs and he goes, oh, you should totally do that. I'm like, wait, but does Michael have a girlfriend? And he goes, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And he's like, I've definitely seen him holding hands with the girl. It was like kind of a while ago and I just don't really know. And I'm like, okay, then I'm not gonna give him my number. And he's like, no, you should at least ask him. Like, I'm really not sure if he has a girlfriend or who this girl is. Oh, and when I was in line getting the round, I'm like, hey, what's your name, by the way? Like, I always talk to you, I've never known your name. And he tells me his name. Again, we're pretending his name is Michael. He goes, oh, my name is Michael. I go, oh, my name is Jezebel. Nice to meet you. Okay, so then after Owner encourages me to give me his number, I write it down on a piece of paper and I'm like waiting for him to be free, but he's not free. He's like so busy. Owner was there, not because he was working. Owner was off and was just like getting drinks at the bar. It's Michael who's working at the bar, then it's Owner and another person. Owner and the other person are just like at the bar getting drinks like patrons of the bar, and then Michael is working. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. So I go right up to where Owner and the other guy is, and I stand right there and Owner looks at me and like, look, I'm doing it. And I was like, hell yeah, do it. And the other guy is like confused. I'm like, I'm gonna try to give Michael my number. And the other guy's like, oh, damn, okay. And then Michael walks up to us and I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question? And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, are you single? And he literally pregnant pauses. He goes, no. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought you were cute, so I wanted to give you my number. He goes, oh, puts his hands on his chest like that. He goes, oh. And I'm like, that's fine. And he goes, ah. And then I run away. So I didn't give him my number. I ran into my neighbor, was getting home, and I told her my story, and she gave me a bowl of spaghetti to make me feel better. So I'm gonna eat my bowl of spaghetti. And I'm gonna be proud of myself for at least trying. And my friend was like, just give your number to another one of the bartenders and they'll give it to him. And I said no, because we come here literally 3 to 4 times a week. I need to be able to give it to him and get rejected by him to ever show my face back here again. I'm happy I did it, and I'm bummed that he has a girlfriend. His reaction was sweet. Nice guy, nice boy. This was a good exercise. You have nothing to lose. Try it.
I feel like this is a non-story. There's a woman in the comments that says, as a bartender with a boyfriend, I'm definitely extra nice to male customers to make an extra tip. Exactly. Another woman says, as someone who works in the food and beverage industry, bartenders throw people free drinks because they're after a bigger tip. Another person says, to be honest, a lot of places No bartenders are friendly. Being personable is the job. It literally is. Otherwise, paying bills would be difficult. I've definitely given free items to my regulars because they always return and tip well. It's just, just what I'm saying. Modern women be so wrapped up in themselves. That's what I'm saying. Why don't you read the vibes? Why don't you read the room? I was just being nice to you. The reason that men, what was that thing to where they said the reason that men they mistake kindness for flirting is because they would never be kind to a woman. And here we are, even in the midst of that stupid statement. Here we are, listening to her going to a place, going to a bar 3 to 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times. You are a regular. You're more than a regular at that point. And thinking that the man is flirting. Oh, he's been extra nice and we're having these conversations. Basically, he's being flirtatious. And I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and try to shoot my shot, which kudos to you. Kudos to you, because you never know. So it might have been something there. But for somebody on the outside listening to this, we know it was probably nothing. It's so, it just goes to show modern women, they're not as in tune with reading the room and catching the vibe as they say they are.
I heard once that women are the gatekeepers to intimacy and men are the gatekeepers to marriage. I think that's true. That's why I observe, and I also think that that's fair. So in the same way that it's embarrassing, it's desperate for a woman to beg to be proposed to, it is embarrassing and desperate for a man to beg for intimacy. And trust me, we know that if we want to do something, there's a 99% chance that you're going to go along with it. Not only in past relationships have I said no, and that answer has been pushed, but I have been single now for 4 months. I've hung out with a few different guys, and every single time I'm very clear on what my boundaries are. I'm very clear about what I'm not comfortable with, and every single time those boundaries have been challenged. I have been asked verbatim, can you give me? I've been asked verbatim, can we do it? Both times I said no, obviously. I've had to push hands away from certain parts of my body, and then 10 minutes later, those same hands try touching me again. First of all, that's extremely disrespectful, okay? Why would I respect you if you're not going to respect me? Second of all, that makes me think that you don't appreciate the little intimacy that I was willing to give you, which I think is rude because I think that is a privilege. And third of all, it makes me literally not want to touch any man ever because y'all always want the next thing. I don't know who's teaching you these things, but I just want you boys to know that your chances of getting laid actually increase exponentially when you don't sexualize the girl you're with, when you don't objectify her, when you are respectful, and when you aren't pushy. And to all the women watching this, I want you to know that when you let men push you to do things that you aren't comfortable with, you're teaching them that it's okay. If you can't respect your own boundaries for yourself, please do it for the woman around you. I'm making this video because I want people to have fulfilling, consensual, intimate lives, and I genuinely think that this is getting in the way of that, and it's a problem. I've learned that I'm no longer inviting people back to my place. I'm no longer going to anyone else's place. Clearly, y'all can't handle that environment. I will be staying celibate, and y'all are making it very easy to. Stay safe out there. Love you guys a lot. Bye.
Well, first of all, I think if they're doing that type of stuff, you're doing good by not hanging out with them, not continuing to be with them. I think that that's weird, and I think that depending on what they were doing, that's a crime. Period. That could be viewed as SA. If you keep on trying to put your hands in places that you shouldn't be putting your hands in places, then that's not only going past the boundary, but it's a crime. You shouldn't be doing that, right? But there was somebody in the comments that said Chad didn't have to, and I think we have to start looking at it from that perspective, right? So let's take the fact that a man should not be putting his hands on anybody, really, honestly and truly, that you don't want to put their hands on you. They shouldn't be doing that, because that's, once again, that could be viewed as SA, especially with what they were doing, what they were trying to do to you in terms of putting their hands on you. Maybe not just saying, "Hey, can we? Or, would you allow me to do this?" But physically trying to touch areas that I told you I didn't want you to touch. I have some other thoughts about what she just said. I'm going to keep those to myself. I'm going to keep those to myself. Sometimes we say things and it's not actually how it happened, to be honest. Once again, I stand by the statement that if they're putting their hands on you, their hands in places that they don't need to be putting their hands in, they are dead wrong. And in some situations, that's criminal. But sometimes the way we explain things isn't actually the way that it went down. I'll say it like that. But back to his point, when he says Chad didn't have to, a woman comes in the comments and she says, I don't know who Chad is, but if he didn't have to, then that was a choice she was allowed to make. Also, you aren't Chad. And that's the thing. That's exactly the point. You're setting these boundaries for men who actually take you out on a date, for men whose money you're actually spending. And then you're saying, well, it's a violation. You should be happy with the level of intimacy that I'm giving you. If I decide to give you nothing, then that should be good with you. I'm going to continue to go out on dates with you. I'm going to continue to spend your money. But in return, you actually really, honestly, truly don't get anything. There's nothing that I'm going to be giving you. A woman said, you're going to have to wait 3 months in order to kiss me. Throughout that time, you can continue spending all you want to. We can continue going on all the dates we want to. But you're going to have to wait until 3 months in order to give me or in order for us to kiss. Do you think that's a fair deal? Do you think that a man should or should not be frustrated by that? Do you think that this is really what modern women think? From the way that she's talking, modern women think, and that's, I'm not going to say exactly what I think a minute ago. I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, but I feel like modern women, they feel like they have control over the entire relationship, over anything and everything that goes on. I mean, she said at the beginning of the video, I think, men have, pretty much control over, basically what Kevin Samuel said, men have control over marriage and stuff like that. We have control over intimacy. Modern women will weaponize intimacy, which is what the woman did when she talked about, and she literally said on TikTok, I'm going to wait until 3 months to even give you a kiss. When a man says, after 10 years, well, I'm just not ready to get married. We'll get married whenever I feel like we need to get married. Y'all will go on the internet. It's almost cliche at this point where they'll say, well, he's not really for you. Leave him. Get out of Dodge. He's not really serious about you. Even after say, okay, 10 years is a lot. 5 years is a lot. 2 years is a lot. Even after 6 months, if he had, men know what they want. If he had proposed to you after 6 months, then get out of there. He's wasting your time. But they're good on her and say, I'll give you what I want to give you, when I want to give it to you, how I want to give it to you, and you're going to be happy about that. That attitude, they'll take into the marriage. She'll take that attitude into the marriage. In this situation, I think there's some discrepancy there, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say those brothers were wrong for what they did. In this situation, she came out right, but in a marriage, she's going to come out wrong. There's going to be a problem. Y'all want to talk about divorce and issues in the marriage? She, with the way that she thinks, is going to run into those things. Because she feels like, okay, she's going to take that into the marriage. She goes, well, I know you married me, but I still control intimacy. I still control my body. And so I'll give it to you when I'm ready to give it to you. It's not going to be no compromise. It's not going to be me understanding how you feel. As long as I want you to wait, you're going to wait. All right. So I decided to do a little digging, and unfortunately found what I was looking for. So in this video, they're talking about, because she goes to the University of Alabama. I think she said she lives in Nashville when she's not at school. So she goes to the University of Alabama, And she does these study crawls to where she, instead of doing a bar crawl, she just goes to different places around campus and she studies. Fantastic. Okay. So in this video, they're talking about basically how the men at Alabama are trash. And the thing that she mentions is basically these frat boys, all they do is drink, party, and I think maybe football or something like that. All they do is like, they don't really have a personality. That's all they do. And somebody in the comments said, do only frat guys and athletes go to Alabama? And I guess Alexis said, basically, I don't know how true that is actually. That might be true. I don't know. But basically, a guy says those are the only dudes they even acknowledge as dating potential, or even men, frankly, and they whine about how they have no EQ or whatever, basically, or no emotional quotient or intelligence or whatever it is. These are the kinds of guys that you're probably running into, where the guy said on the other video, Chad wouldn't have to. Chad didn't have to ask. That's why he said that. Even though it sounds insensitive, it's a harsh reality into how a lot of modern women, especially with as pretty as she is, how they think of themselves. Well, you know, I can do this, and I'm expecting this, and I'm expecting that. If Chad and Tyrone are getting women, you're a dime a dozen, unfortunately. As pretty as you are, dime a dozen. But a man that's respectful, that would never even have crossed his mind. But y'all only see Chad and Tyrone and somebody who's a frat guy who only wants to party and drink beer and do all that other stuff. Y'all only see them as dating potential. So you're running into the same guy because that's all you see as dating potential. And you're young now, but the older you get, you'll never change because, oh, it's just something about him. If I can change him to do this, if I can make him do that, then it'll all be good. And y'all keep on complaining about men and making these stances and statements about men when really, if you would just date the guy that you didn't see as dating potential, right? Doesn't mean that he's ugly. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have a spark, but he's not toxic. If you would have just dated him, how many of those problems would you have actually had?
Okay, I don't want to sound too sex positive with this, but getting on here and seeing, one, even the single video that started all this discourse about the fact that regular men are using regular photos of regular women to do their business at night or whenever they do it, and how somehow that is shocking to you people. And I'm like, who is asking y'all on dates if it's not the regular men? Like, the regular guy from your job that asked you for your Instagram that you thought was kind of cute, so you gave it to him, he doesn't care that you are not a supermodel and that you are not doing Victoria's Secret sets every single time you post. He just thinks you're pretty, and he likes your face. And therefore, that's like, I think we've gotten so far away from what sexual attraction.
I do see where you're coming from. I do see where you're coming from. But I do get why they feel weird about it. So, I mean, there's that. And really, honestly and truly, when you look at it, it seems like you have sort of a split down the middle with the women. There's one woman that says, I'd feel violated and disgusted if someone was viewing me that way, to be honest. I feel like that's disingenuous. Maybe if you didn't know them, well, it depends on who it is. Because if you're thinking about like a creep or somebody like that, but if it's a guy that you liked, you would definitely be feeling that way about them. And you would be happy that they would be feeling that way about you. And I know it's kind of taboo to say that, but I think it's like one of these other women said, these comments are weird. Y'all never had a crush, dreamed about somebody? Yeah, they have. Somebody else says, no, this conversation is confusing to me because has nobody had fantasies about a crush or somebody they knew? I don't get what's wrong with all of that, basically. I think it's a thin line. I think if I think it goes basically back to the argument about women talking about it, to the question, would you rather be in the forest with a man or a bear? And they say, well, I'd rather be in the forest with a bear because I don't know what a man's going to do. Well, if it was Chad, then you'd clearly pick Chad. And Chad would probably be the one that would do you dirty. But since you go automatically to, oh, I'm so scared, then you say, I'd rather be in the forest with a bear. So that's probably a little bit about what this is. But surprisingly, there are women who are agreeing with what she's saying. There's one woman that says, I get where you're coming from. And it's such a simple concept, but the collective behavior from men, yeah, here it is right here, over sexualizing. Over sexualizing attraction in women as a whole really doesn't allow for the simple concept of natural attraction to exist. It does, because men don't really do that. The men that you guys see, the men that you guys come in contact with, for the men that come in contact with you, how many other men stood back and y'all complain about them not approaching? How many men stood back, complimented you, and say, oh man, you look really nice? Well, how come? And then you get into, well, how come he didn't say much more to me? How come he sat up there and walked away? How many men for that one person? Or let's say, for instance, you got 10 men. Say, for instance, say 20 to 30%. That's 2 to 3 men that have did you dirty, that have talked to you crazy, and we're not even talking about statistics. Well, I guess you could. Yeah, it'd be about the same if you were talking about, well, it wouldn't, because for DV, usually it's intimate partner violence at that point in time. These are strangers. And I think that the statistic is around 75%. I can't remember, but definitely correct me if I'm wrong. 75% of men don't even, you don't even see or hear them doing stuff like that. Right? So men over sexualizing women as a collective doesn't even exist. This is, I think, kind of what I was talking about in another clip where one was like, oh man, most women, they feel like, they regret getting married. And it's like not even a quarter of women. We don't really even have a survey, a credible survey with those statistics. But even for the surveys that we can find, it's like 15% of women, maybe. It's like 11 to 15% of women that regret getting married. Specifically 11%, a little over 11%. I think it was 23% in total, men and women. But if we cut that down the middle, let's say for the sake of argument, 11.5% of women regretted getting married too young. So it's not, they say a majority, but it's really like 10, 11%, maybe 12, 15 if you're being generous. So it's not even close to what they claim it to be.
The scariest thing about being single in my 30s is not my biological clock. It's that the older that I get, the more I become capable of making my life great. And you might be like, what's the problem with that? Well, my reproductive system inching closer and closer to geriatric status is not exactly thrilling because I would like kids and ideally they would have a father. But the older I get, the harder it is to find someone because my options are decreasing and I keep providing myself with a better and better life, which means someone has to compete with that. And that scares the hell out of me because despite the Vogue article, I do want a boyfriend, but I just matched with a 33-year-old man who still lives at home with his mom, and I'm not really sure what to do with that. The dating pool is so bad that my initial thought was, oh, maybe he has a really good reason. I gotta be open-minded. What the hell am I talking about? I'm sitting in my clean and peaceful apartment. I just made short ribs for dinner and I'm about to start my third book of the week. I don't know what his reason could be, but I can't imagine it's good enough to compete with this. But it doesn't even matter because after finding out what his living situation is, which I didn't even press further on as to not embarrass him, he texted me and said he's not really sure if he's in a place for a relationship right now, which I would have to agree. So yeah, that's my weekly dating update. I can't really concern myself with my biological clock at the moment when the options of who to do the whole biology thing with are so bleak.
I guess that's what the problem is here, is that you're talking like you actually did something. I mean, looking at what you got going on here, it takes like an hour to throw some short ribs and not the crock pot, but the pressure cooker, the Instant Pot. You can find a tutorial on that on YouTube. I mean, a short. And then, of course, you don't really have to put your spices and blends together, as they sell those in a mixture on Amazon. They sell those at your local store. So you can just buy whatever mixture you want. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Toss. Beep, beep, beep. Ready in an hour. It's not really a whole bunch that you did. Mashed potatoes. It looks like you have mashed potatoes there. I mean, once again, not that much going on. Seeing as, like I said in some of my other videos, you can go to Trader Joe's or really honestly and truly any store. Bob Evans, potatoes, mashed potatoes, ready made. Put a little spice here and there on them. Or, I mean, if you want to, it doesn't really take that long to make mashed potatoes from scratch, to be honest. Right? Just a bag of potatoes, you wash them, toss, toss, toss in the pot, water, let them boil. I mean, if you got a mixer, throw that all in the mixer, the potatoes, throw the butter in the mixer, put it down with a little bit of heavy cream or some milk or whatever you want just to make it smooth. Let that thing really whip it. Sprinkle in some seasoning as you would like, salt and pepper. If you want to keep it simple, mix, 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 mix. And then there's your mashed potatoes, silky. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's not that impressive at all. I'm sorry to say. Oh, I'm on my third book of the week. Fantastic. Good for you. If you're going to work and you're coming home and you're reading throughout the day, that's pretty good. I guess that's impressive, but you really didn't mention anything that was spectacular, to be honest. And this is the problem that I think most men are having with modern women, is they think that they're so far ahead of this man who lives with his mom. Don't really even know if we asked why he was living with his mom, right? But let's assume that he's a bum. All of the other guys that were out there that you could have been talking to, that you could have been talking about, and this is the one that you guys decide to pull out for examination. It's just really, honestly and truly, a loser behavior. Just bragging on everything that I do. I made short ribs. Who cares? You and millions of other people on freaking YouTube. Fantastic. Turn this off and go to bed. I mean, I'm going to let this go, but I mean, my God, it really is an issue with modern women hyping themselves up far beyond what it is that they actually are. Another woman says, what's also so scary is watching close friends settle with those mediocre men. Do you ever think that maybe you see certain things from the outside and that they're happy in their relationship, but you get on the internet and you're actually pretty freaking miserable? Another woman says, as a quote, an extraordinary man is just an average woman. I mean, once again, another coping mechanism. I feel like at this point, it's an affirmation. It's like something to keep you going when you know that you suck at life. Just my opinion. Another woman says, I'm right here in the trenches. This is not the trenches. Like, there's nothing going on at all. Another woman says, women are just amazing. I don't think we've ever been allowed to live this way before. You're the product of all the women before you who fought for equality. To cook a short rib? To read a book? You've always had the ability to read a book and cook a short rib. Matter of fact, it was probably harder back in their day. You've been allowed to do this since like the 70s. I mean, anyways, all I want to say is my mom was already doing this back in like the 70s. Her sister was already doing this back in the 70s. Her other sister was already doing this back in the 70s. Dare I say it, my aunt, who until recently just got married, has been doing it since the 90s. The 90s. She was probably doing it in the 80s, but definitely the early 90s. You know, when the Cowboys were winning Super Bowls and stuff. Those were the glory days. But I don't get this. Most women who married in their 20s are regretting it now. Lying. Absolutely lying. I mean, even looking at statistics, and apparently these aren't really backed by anything. But let's go through it. Let's just say it for the sake of argument, because whatever her claim was, 2023 survey said of married Americans said about 40% said they have regrets about their marriage. Okay, within that, 23%, and this is not women, this is men, or excuse me, men and women. 23% said one of their regrets was marrying too young. So if we take that number, and I mean, first of all, 23% is maybe a quarter if we give you that. But then if you say, we split it down the middle, and we say women half, men half. What is that? Little over 11% of women regret getting married too young. Even if we go to the next one, also in that survey, 30% wished they had married someone more compatible. Once again, cut that down the middle, that's 15%. Okay, 24% wished they had married someone better with money. Once again, and I'll say, I'll even give that whole entire 24% to women. That's a quarter. It's not the majority, not even close. They just be talking. They just be making up stuff. They don't really know what they're talking about. They don't really care to know. They feel like this is what the world is. So they pat themselves on the back for getting away from it and all that other nonsense.